I've been four-wheel driving for over half my life and I'm pretty comfortable behind the wheel. But when it comes to towing, things get a little bit more interesting. That's where having the right tools for the job makes life so much better. This baby here is the Hayman Reese X-Bar, and I reckon this thing is going to turn the towbar world on its head. They've done a few things with this. They've actually raised it up quite a bit so it sits level with the chassis rails on your 4B, and that gives you much better departure angles. One of the biggest differences, and you can see that pretty clearly here, are these 3 recovery points. Now these guys mean that I can pull people out of the sand or get recovered myself without having to move this tongue, which is a huge boon, particularly if you're in a hurry. You've got these dedicated recovery points that are absolutely easy to use, and they're brilliant in almost any situation. And on top of that improved departure angle, you've got removable bash plates here. They're actually protecting your Anderson plug and your trailer plug. And that just provides way more protection for all your wiring and everything out here, which I found is a weak point with a lot of other designs. This is the first four-wheel drive tow bar on the market anywhere in the world, and I reckon it has been absolutely brilliant up here in the top end. Just come out on Sandfly Creek, just out the front of Port Keats this morning with Dave, one of the locals here, and he's brought us out to a pretty awesome spot here. It's just out at the mouth of Sandfly Creek next to Docherty Island. Could get jacks here, fingermark, cod, even GTs if we're lucky. A lot of these river systems are renowned for how many barramundi they contain, but sometimes the conditions just aren't quite right for barra, the tides and everything aren't with you. But if you change up your tactic, you can still go home with a full esky.
One of the biggest lessons I've learned traveling and fishing all over Australia is how important even a little bit of local knowledge can be. So many times I've watched hapless anglers doing everything right in the absolute wrong place, or fishing right next to us using all the wrong techniques. Experimentation can only get you so far, but a local mate and perseverance are always going to win out in the long run.
Got something little on here, but I'm guessing it's probably a cod because it feels like I'm pulling an old tire up. Yeah, there we go. Little estuary cod. When you haul these guys in, they just hang their mouths open like that, and it's like dragging an old boot up to the boat. They don't really fight much, it's just a slog getting them up. But yeah, beautiful eating fish.
With 2 boats on the water, we had a pretty steady run on cod and jacks at the small creek inlets on the way out to the deeper water. These waters are so rich, but you get a pretty tight window to get out onto the water around here with the tides. Too low, and you can't make it out to the islands or even get back to town. Sometimes though, you get something that makes the world disappear for a while.
He does not want to come up to the boat, eh? Yeah! Come on. You got him? Yeah. Yoo-hoo! This is one of the best fighting fish in the ocean. That's a GT or giant trevally. Now this one's not giant, he's probably about 3 kilo or something, but that is a nice fighting fish. Good little fight too. Right on the bottom, didn't feel like he was gonna give it much, but as soon as I set that hook and pulled him in, he just started taking off line like crazy. You can see how that powerful tail on the back of there, these guys can really push. And they know how to get side onto the line as well. But out here, man, this is about as good as it gets for a good fight. And they eat pretty well too.
After the eskies had a few fish and the tide had come up enough, we decided to head out into open water around Docherty Island. Shooting the bar on the way out of the creek and getting into open water was definitely an eye-opening experience on a 4-meter boat. Most of the waves were at least as tall as the gunnels, and it was all I could do to stay in my seat on the tiller. There's nothing like that moment when something hits the line though, and you kill the motor and start fighting. It's so easy to lose a fish out here, and when something's pulling back as hard as you can pull, you know you've got something real on the other end. Dave snagged a Spanish mackerel so big it wouldn't even fit in the esky, which I reckon was the fish of the day all around.
Yeah, boy! That's fishing. Oh, it won't fit.
When you're catching fish like this, nobody minds taking the beer off the ice to make room. When we got back to town, there was a kind of ceremony at the boat ramp where we handed out a few fish to the locals. They would stand there, chanting "Barra" softly, and quietly mouth thank you as they headed off to cook the fish on smoky fires by the boat ramp. It's nice to give something so tangible back, even if it's such a small gesture.